What's going on, Niner fam? It is Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. Once again, guys, thank you for coming on today. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. Thank you for coming on. However, you're getting it today. Thank you for coming on. We're on YouTube, we are on Spotify, we're on anywhere where you can get your podcast. We are on Facebook and Twitter today. So wherever you can get it, just go and get it. But once again, I thank you for coming on. It is Peter Lucas, the name one more time, and today we got a 49er game that is, to me, still I feel like a lot of these games going into this are going to be must wins at this point. And I just wanted to give you guys a quick preview of this matchup today. We've got in a half an hour, but I just wanted to make sure that I gave you guys something to think about going into this game. And it's I didn't get a chance to do an earlier show, but yeah, appreciate you guys for coming on. But let's start with the first question. What Jimmy are we going to see today? And we saw the really bad Jimmy. We saw the Jimmy that came off the bench, and then we saw the Jimmy that had no off season Jimmy that was really bad. Then this last game, it was kind of interesting because they gave Jimmy more of a backup quarterback type of game plan. It was more of a game plan that we would see that most teams give their backup. And I think that my personal opinion is that I think that is the perfect style for Jimmy. Like if he sees something, great, but why don't you just style it up for as if he's just treat him like a backup? If you treat him like a backup, then you can't be disappointed, right? But which game plan do we think that we see today? You never really know with Kyle, but I would venture to say he's not going to do what works twice in a row. He just doesn't do that often. So I'm kind of iffy about what we're going to see. But hey, like I said, Kyle can prove me wrong. He proves me wrong all the time. But the reality is, and honestly, he proves me wrong in going both ways. Sometimes I think, there can't be any way that he's not going to do what's right in front of him, and he doesn't do what's right in front of him. He doesn't. He consistently thinks that he's the smartest guy in the room. So, but hey, thanks Tisha for coming in. I appreciate you. We got royalty in here today. That's my cousin Dalila. Hey Dalila, how are you? And but yeah, it's going to be a very interesting matchup. And people are saying, look, like they play the Panthers. Like, how could this be an interesting matchup? It's because these are the games that we should win. This is a game that we should be really confident in winning. But the reality is we lost to the Bears. And Dalila, I know my cousin Dalila is a Bears fan, and I don't mean to crap on your team or whatever, but we should have won that game. We were supposed to win against the Bears. We were heavily favored. We lose to the Broncos that we just saw on Thursday Night Football that had no business being in the same stadium as the 49ers with all the talent that is on this team. The one common denominator is you look at it and it's two people that you got to look at. Well, one, you start off with the fact that it's the offense. The offense is the first thing that you have to look at because his defense has been unbelievable all season. So first off, you look at the offense. Now, who are the two common denominators for that offense? that make them not necessarily look that great. We've got number one, Jimmy Garoppolo, and he is, I would say, let's say without going too hard on Jimmy, he is a whole bunch of mid. Like he's a whole bunch of mid. He's gonna give you Jimmy Garoppolo plays. I think it's safe to say what a Jimmy Garoppolo play is at this point. But then on the other side, you've got Kyle Shanahan that doesn't know that he can't call certain things with Jimmy Garoppolo in there. And you see him constantly frustrated on the sideline. Well, I mean, Kyle, stop ramming your head against the wall and do something different, which is exactly what I think he did the last game. Now the question is he going to continue that? Now, we don't know. But at the same time, does Shanny find a way to get the ball into his playmakers' hands? We've got Deebo Samuel on this team. We've got George Kittle on this team. We also have Brandon Ayuk. We got Danny Gray that's going to play. He's back from the injury report. And I would say even Ray McLeod, you could consider him a playmaker. But they've got explosive players on this offense. Now notice there was one. I said all wide receivers and a tight end. Did you notice that I didn't mention one running back? Because Kyle only has trust in one running back so far this season. Once his main guy went down, he trusts in Jeff Wilson, who also, like Jimmy, is a whole bunch of mid. And for the people that say he's not a bunch of mid, like that he's good, well, I venture to say you should probably go look at his averages for this season, because he had a long run, not a long run, but he had a pretty explosive run for a touchdown last week, and still ended up with 4.1 yards carry. Like, even when we think that he looks really good, you go back at the box score and you look, and he's in that 3.5 to a little over 4 yards a carry. He's not explosive. He's not a playmaker, but in my mind, but we're stuck constantly like he's going to get more touches than a Deebo Samuel. He's going to get more touches than a Brandon Ayuk. He's going to get more touches than a Kittle. It's kind of frustrating, I'll be honest with you, because they have another guy sitting on the bench that I think all of us 49er fans have kind of have an inkling that he could be explosive in this offense, and that's Jordan Mason. Like, I mean, we don't know what it would be if we saw it, but that's part of the problem. We don't know. It's the unknown. We'd like to see it. The one time he got a carry this year, he got 7 yards. One carry, 7 yards. Now, I'd like to see more. As a fan, I would like to see more. Now, does Kyle have to do anything that we say? Obviously not, and he won't. He won't do anything that we say. He won't do anything that the fans want. It's almost like he goes and looks on Twitter and just to see what we want, and then he says, I'm not going to do that today. Not going to do that because that's what everybody thinks I'm going to do, so I'm not going to do it. And he just really has a propensity to go away from the obvious. But it is what it is. Like, we're stuck with Jeff Wilson. So the question is, does he find a way to get the ball into his playmakers' hands? I'm not quite sure what that's going to look like, how he's going to do that. I mean, he tries to give Deebo carries, but can they run more of that, of what they did last week, which was a whole bunch of screens and short throws to get some run after the catch, and just trust in those guys run after the catch ability. Like, can they do? Is the Panthers defense bad enough to allow that short game to happen, and knowing that that's what's coming? Are they bad enough to let that happen? And do they not have the pass rush enough pass rush to get to Jimmy before he can get that stuff off? Because we saw last week against the Rams, I would say the Rams have a pretty decent pass rush. I think the league would say that. I mean, Aaron Donald is unstoppable. But the 49ers just didn't give him a lot of chances to even get the time to pass rush. But at the same time, if you watch the game, there was a whole bunch of screens that almost got batted down at the line. and one almost got picked off. So are they going to be able to get away with that a second week in a row? I don't know. The answer is I don't know. We'll have to see because we're about to see in a few minutes. But it's it's really, I guess it's frustrating as a fan to not know what your coach is going to do week in and week out. Never know. Like there's no real, once again, we're searching for an identity for this team. We think that we know the identity. I haven't heard anybody mention bully ball in the past, since the season started. Like we've been asking to go back to it, but once again, this team has no identity, and it's really frustrating when you have this many nice players on nice pieces on offense, and we can't seem to get production. Now we got 2 touchdowns last week, but honestly, it was a busted run play, and most of our offense came from a busted run play and from Debo deciding to break off the whole Rams team, the whole Rams defense. So I mean, really, what are we gonna see? Like I don't think any of us know. And it's but I wonder if any of the fans out there, would they consider Jeff Wilson a playmaker? Because I don't. Obviously, I don't. I think everybody's heard on my shows prior that I think Jeff Wilson is a whole bunch of mid. Like that's what he is. And I just really want them to try something else. Kyle Shanahan keeps talking about the hot hand, and he keeps talking about, oh, I'm going to go with the hot hand today. Okay, well, Jeff Wilson is the only person getting carries. So how is he how do we know who's got the hot hand if you're not gonna give anybody else a chance? But this is another question: is will Danny Gray be a factor? Danny Gray's supposed to play today. Is he going to be a factor? Is Shanny going to find a way to get him involved? And you think, I know what you're thinking out there right now. Why are you asking about Danny Gray? We got Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. He can't even throw the ball deep. Well, you know what? Danny Gray's just really fast. And if Shanny is the genius that everybody keeps saying that he is, he needs to find a way to get the ball in his fast players' hands. Danny Gray's shown over that he can do other things other than run streak routes. So let's see it. Let's see him get involved, to take some of the weight off of the other guys. Not that they're getting really any weight on them to begin with, but whatever you got to do, Kyle, to get the ball in some of these electrifying players' hands, let's do it. There's got to be a way. You got other teams that are just terrible that are still able to get the ball in their playmakers' hands. So it's just really baffling to me why we're sitting here wondering how the offense is gonna look, and it's week 5. I mean, it's week 5. Think about that. So, but let's move on to the defense because I'm trying to make this show pretty quick. But is this D line going to have any problems stopping the run while missing Armstead and Kinlaw? Because Armstead's out. Like I think I believe they put him on IR, and then Kinlaw's not going to play today. So what do they have a problem with stopping the run? Because who's on the other side today would be Christian McCaffrey. And I think we can all agree that Christian McCaffrey is electric enough to, if you're not on your P's and Q's, he could bust a couple. And he's done it to us, even though I think the last time we played them, they didn't do well. But Christian McCaffrey broke off a couple of runs, I believe, in that game. So he's a guy that even though you think that you have a good run defense, he's one of those guys that can just kind of squirt out and get him 10 and keep drives going. So I really, and then they use him in the pass game too. So is this D-line going to be able to hold up against the run? I think it will. They didn't have Kinlaw and Armstead last game. For the most part, Armstead ended up leaving the game and within the first couple of drives. So So I don't think that this defense is going to have any problem holding against the run. I think that this is the number one defense in the league statistically now, and by I think every measure you can possibly think of. So it's like I would say that Christian McCaffrey is going to have a rough day. I definitely don't think that he's going to get 100 yards rushing. I'd be shocked. And does Jimmy Ward? This is Jimmy Ward day, y'all. Like Jimmy Ward finally gets on the field today. What does Jimmy Ward give us? What does Jimmy Ward give the 49ers? They've been the number one defense without him. Tashawn Gibson is one of the top ranked safeties in the league. That's the guy that took over for Jimmy Ward as our backup. So is Jimmy Ward going to give us something that we haven't had? And do we see some more of those three safety looks maybe on obvious passing downs that could give us some explosive, maybe some interceptions, maybe some interceptions. Not that Jimmy Ward has ever been a big interception guy, but just him being out there and quarterbacks not wanting to throw his way, could that bring up some opportunities for somebody else? I think that they're going to get a couple of interceptions in this game because guess who the quarterback is on the other side? It's Baker Mayfield. Baker for all you Nick Bosa fans out there. But this is the way I think that Jimmy Ward, you can't not have him on the field if he's available. And I think he's a leader. I think that he is going to bring another level to this defense, that just a grittiness and a fit and another physical aspect. Not that this defense already wasn't physical, but now that brings another physical aspect to this defense. And it really just comes down to just depth, like all the way across the board. Like I think that this secondary, I don't think we've ever had a secondary like this for the 49ers. I don't think ever. I've been watching the 49ers since the 80s, and like I've never seen anything like this secondary. And now granted, keep in mind that they're able to do all the things that they can do because of this D line, which is also, I would say, probably the best D line that I think we've had, which I think a lot of older Niner fans would say is sacrilege, but I think it is. I mean, they had 7 sacks last week. Like, when was the last time we saw 7 sacks in a game on for the 49ers? So I think that this is going to be, I think that Jimmy Ward is going to impact this game. I think that it's going to be obvious when it happens. And I think that we're going to be able to point to it after the game is over. But do I think that this defense is going to have any kind of issues today? I can't see it. The only issue that I could see with the defense that could happen today is just being tired because they're on the field the whole game. And I've spoken about this in prior shows, but if you think about it, this offense has to sustain some drives just to get those guys off the field. That is the Achilles heel of every great defense, is that you cannot leave them on the field the whole game. You just can't. You can't do it. These guys are human beings. They're gonna get tired. And when that pass rush, even as deep as this D line is, when that pass rush, when they start to get tired, or let's say they try to go hurry up and leave those guys on the field, that's when things can happen that we're not used to seeing. So I really just hope that this offense can really take over time of possession, because that's what happened in the Rams game. The offense was able to sustain drives and they didn't score a lot of points, but at least they were able to keep the defense off the field for extended amounts of time, and so that to keep them fresh and to keep them able to dominate, because that's what it's going to take for them to dominate. They have to be off the field. And honestly, the more you keep them off the field, the more chances there are for those explosive, those interceptions and pick six, whatever, because we may need them to score. We may need them to score. And it's sad that I'm talking about that for the Panthers, but that's where we're at this year with this team. So we just have to be realistic. I'm going to mention some people in the comments. Hey, Niner Sickness, appreciate you coming through. Hey, everybody, make sure that you go and watch that Last Man Standing podcast. Me and Niner Sickness, Chris Polo, Celts Chronicles, and of course, Forever Faithful podcast, Brandon. Like, make sure that you guys go out and check that. We're on we usually get on Wednesday nights, but it'll be usually posted by Thursday morning. So make sure you guys check that out. My cousin's saying that it's a great pod. Like, family's supposed to support you. I appreciate you, cousin. Like, and then of course Brian's a longtime listener. Petey, how many points are my Cowboys going to win by? Honestly, if they I heard Pollard isn't feeling too good today, and this is a 49er podcast, so I won't go spend too much time on this, but I heard Pollard is not feeling too hot today. I don't think he's going to play. If they can't lean on that run game like they have been, Cooper Rush may not look so hot this game. So he needs that running game to lean on. And that creates that time of possession thing, like I was just talking about with the 49ers. And if you don't keep that defense off the field, it could spell disaster. So it doesn't matter who you're going against. But yeah, back to I want to talk a little bit about the Panthers, our opponents. So what's the problem with their offense? Like, because as bad as our offense is, I mean, they're having similar issues. And everybody thought that Baker Mayfield coming in was going to be the savior, like, because they had Sam Darnold and they had Teddy Bridgewater before that. And now you've got Baker Mayfield, who everybody thought, oh, well, the Browns looked decent, but I think I've always said that Baker Mayfield, I'd never seen it from Baker Mayfield. I don't think he's good. And I think that you see it with the Browns today, like not just today, but this season, that they didn't need Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield needed the Browns, because that team is winning with Jacoby Brissett as their starting quarterback. So Baker Mayfield is, to me, he's a nobody. Sorry. Hate to talk like that about any human being, especially a pro football player, but Baker Mayfield is not good. Let's just put it that way. But why can we call him a dud at this? I think we can call him a dud at this point. Why are people so slow to want to call a guy a dud or a bad pick? Like, I don't get it. The guy's short. He's a little bit athletic. He can throw the ball, but he just makes terrible decisions over and over and over again. And I've never gotten it. But is it his fault that the Panthers look so bad on this offense? I just finished talking about how bad he is. So you would think, oh yeah, well, it's got to be Baker's fault, right? Well, hold on. Because like I said, before him was Sam Darnold. And they didn't look too bad on offense last year with Sam Darnold in there. I couldn't tell you why, but because Sam Darnold is terrible too. And then I wouldn't say they looked inept with Teddy Bridgewater. I would say that they looked probably about the same. Like, they could score points, but I think it's the coach. Matt Rule is not good. He's not a good coach. Anytime you're blaming your receivers for and like siding with Baker Mayfield just to protect Baker Mayfield, that's bad decision making. From a roster standpoint, anytime your star wide receiver that should mean more to you than Baker Mayfield, and DJ Moore, who is just a monster, anytime that guy has to get in front of reporters and explain to them why their coach said that it could possibly be him not getting separation or the other receivers not getting separation, that's a bad look. It's a bad look. There's no excuse for it. There's no excuse for it at all. I think, the rumors out there that he's pretty much done after this season, because it doesn't look like he's going to turn it around this season. I can't imagine them getting really much better. Now, would a win today for them be a huge step in the right direction? Of course it would be, but I don't see it happening. And Kyle, I'm telling you, like that had better not happen today. There will be that I'm telling you, content creators will burn it down tomorrow if the 49ers lose to the Panthers. I'm telling you, they cannot continue to lose to teams that are, I'm sorry to say, but they're beneath them. So it to me, it absolutely is Matt Rule. It's a combination of the two. Like Matt Rule has a bad game plan, and then Baker Mayfield has an even worse ability to run said game plan. So if you can imagine how bad that is, I just really feel bad for the Christian McCaffreys and the DJ Moores, and even the Robbie Andersons that have to waste another year of their career with bad quarterback play. And it's just sad because this Panthers team is not bereft of talent. Not bereft of talent at all. And they have some playmakers on this team. Yeah, like I said, Robbie Anderson, you got Christian McCaffrey, Robbie Anderson, and a DJ Moore. That should be enough to get you something. It should be. They could use something at the tight end position, in my opinion. But even with that being said, they should be able to score something. They should at least be able to look in serviceable. So it's not good. It's not a good look for the Panthers. But will this Panthers defense be able to keep the 49ers from scoring? And I think I just talked about at length about how bad this 49er offense has kind of looked, in my opinion, and could look in this game, because guess what? The Panthers they've got corners. Now Jeremy Chin is not playing in this game. I guess I think he's gone IR, but I mean, they still got JC Horn, who has been a world beater. Now, granted, it doesn't really matter. Corners don't really matter against the 49ers because the 49ers like to be physical up front, and they don't really trust in like jump balls and cornerbacks don't factor too much into what they do. I believe safeties factor more to me. And the fact that Jeremy Chin is out is huge for the 49ers, in my opinion. But the other part, they got Brian Burns on the other thing, who can rush the passer. They've got a pretty decent defensive line, and this defense wouldn't be bad if they weren't on the field the whole time, just like what I talked about with the 49ers. So, if the 49ers if they get a bunch of 3-and-outs on offense, then it's going to be, you could give this defense some confidence, and it could be a long, nasty looking game. It could be a long, nasty looking game on both sides. So will they keep the 49ers from scoring? I hope not. I'm not willing to put my word on it that it's not going to happen, that it's going to happen or it's not going to happen, because I have to see some consistency out of this offense to be able to say that. But now, should it? It should not. Kyle's got to figure out a way to score points with these playmakers. I am gonna bring up Niner Sickness put Cowgirls and Lambs will tie today. Well, you know what? We need a loss. We need a loss for the Rams. I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna go for the Cowboys because I'm a Niner fan from the 80s. So that's not gonna happen. We're not cheering for Cowboys. If they could both somehow get a loss in the loss column, I would love to see it. But Brian. So he's saying, and now this is a Cowboys fan saying go Niners, and he said he's always been a Garoppolo believer. I can't go there with you. I'm not a Garoppolo believer, but it is what it is. He's our quarterback right now, and I think the best thing for him is that Kyle treats him like a backup, and that I think that's the best results that you get out of him. But then Niners Sickness said, Peter, question for you. Do you consider Javon Kinlaw a bust because of the knee injury and now chronic knee pain? So I think it's too early to say, because, and the only reason why I say this is because they knew that it was coming. They told you that this was preventative. These were preventative measures. He got some fluid in his knee. He said it wasn't a pain issue. It was just that the fluid was building up in the knee, and that They knew that that was going to happen. So they may have a process in place to keep him serviceable. When you talk about a bust, though, like I mean, I feel like when you're talking about a bust, that means that he can't give us anything, and he's not a bust. I don't think he's a bust. I think that when he's on the field, he's shown this season that he does pretty well. Like, and he is a factor on the defensive line. Like, but is he worth a 15th overall pick? I would say he's not a 15th overall pick. I will agree with anybody that says that. Like, because anytime you're having to kind of stagger out, that's a guy that should be a difference maker. A first round pick in the top 20 should be a difference maker on your first round pick, period, needs to be a difference maker on whichever side of the ball he plays on. So if it's a defensive lineman, and we should not be worrying about who's going to start at the defensive tackle position. That should just be penciled in. Kinlaw is going to be there game in and game out. Now, granted, if he got some nicked up injuries, like something other than the knee that we all knew was hurt before he was drafted, and then something that continuously seems to peek its ugly head up again, yes. I don't think that he deserved to be the first. Now, somebody was going to pick him there. So that means we just probably wouldn't have selected him at 15. But I don't think he's a bust, if that makes any kind of sense. I don't think he's a bust. I just think that he's not he shouldn't have been picked where he was. And that's unfortunately for him, he's always going to be pegged as that because he was a 15th overall pick. Sorry, Javon, but you get extra scrutiny because of that fact. And and unfortunately for you, it's everybody's going to continue to talk about it. But and Niner Sickness says he wanted Wirfs instead of Kinlaw, so he's bitter. But remember, Tampa lost Wirfs all last season. He was hurt. He lost. I think he missed almost all of last season, with an injury. So nothing is guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed. But I too wanted an offensive lineman because I thought they should be really trying to fortify that offensive lineman. I wanted a center. I didn't think they had any centers last year in the beginning of the draft, but I wanted a center. Them to get a center last year, and because I think when you're drafting, especially when you have as talented of a team as the 49ers do, you have to be proactive and be thinking ahead of your contract situations, just so you can start to develop those guys so they can take over. Quite kind of like the Patriots have always done. It's not I know some people have said that that's a Madden mindset, but it's smart. Like, I mean, just think about it. If you know, you already know if you have any plans on keeping a certain guy, why would you not draft their replacement? You knew Mac could retire the next season. You knew that could happen. And so you should have drafted his replacement last year so he could sit behind him and kind of glean. It shouldn't have been Brendel shouldn't have been the one sitting behind him trying to groom him. In my estimation, that was a perfect chance for you to get somebody that would have been more serviceable, more electric in what you do. So it is what it is. But I'm gonna say, the last part of this show, I'm just gonna say that my prediction for this game, I'm gonna predict the 49ers win this 17-10. And it's kind of a lackluster score, but I just think that until they prove to me otherwise, this 49er offense is going to struggle to score points. And unless we have pick sixes or a random busted play, this offense will not be able to just methodically move up and down the field. It's just not going to happen. It's not in the cards for this offense. So, but it is what it is. And with that being said, this game is about to start in a few minutes. I'm going to let y'all get to it and get ready for another weekend of 49er football. But I thank you guys. I really thank you guys for coming in real quick. All the people that left comments, Niners sickness, my boy Brian, my cuz, my family, Dalila. Like I thank you all for coming in and asking questions and getting involved in the chat. Remember, you can watch this on YouTube, you can watch it on Twitter, you can watch it on Facebook. Plus, we've got all. You can listen to it in the audio version anywhere you can get your favorite podcast. So just remember that next time, and remember next time you need to know anything about 49er football, just hit me up on the YouTube channel. That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. But hey, thank you guys, and as always, go Niners.